Hello, welcome back to the breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you're watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got a breaking news report coming out from the European Union, and we're going to talk more about the EU preparing for war with Russia. Take a look at your screen here. EU calls on citizens to stockpile food for 72 hours and prepare for war. The EU has urged citizens across the continent to stockpile food, water, and other essentials to last at least 72 hours as war, cyber attacks, climate change, and disease increase the chances of a crisis. Okay, so we've already been hearing recently that the European Union is going to be stepping up big time, spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the near future to upgrade their defense, build defensive weapons, offensive weapons, and prepare for war with Russia. Now, all of a sudden, they're starting to call on their citizens in the EU to start stockpiling food for at least 72 hours and prepare for some sort of crisis. Now, obviously, here they're talking about multiple types of crises, from anywhere from a cyber attack, climate change, war, whatever it might be. But I think most of us know the most highly likely scenario here is going to be war, as we've been hearing recently from lots of top leaders in the EU that Russia could launch an attack on, let's say, maybe the Baltic nations or Poland or something like that. And a war could ensue, and NATO's going to be involved in this. So I want to show you guys reports coming out from this today that shows that the EU is preparing for war with Russia in the near future. So let's hop on over here to the Financial Times. EU calls for households to stockpile 72 hours of food amid war risks. Commission issues 30-step plan for dealing with increased threats, including Russian aggression. Okay, and it says down here, EU households should stockpile essential supplies to survive at least 72 hours of crisis, Brussels had proposed, as Russia's war in Ukraine and a darkening geopolitical landscape prompt the bloc to take new steps to increase its security. The continuing conflict in Ukraine, the COVID 19 pandemic that brutally exposed a lack of crisis response capabilities, and the Trump administration's adversarial stance towards Europe have forced the continent to rethink its vulnerabilities and increase its spending on defense and security. The new initiative comes as European intelligence agencies warn that Russia could attack an EU member state within 3 to 5 years, adding that natural threats, including floods and wildfires, worsened by climate change and societal risks such as financial crisis. Europe faced increased threats, including the possibility of armed aggression against member states. The European Commission warned on Wednesday as it published a 30-step plan for its 27 capitals to increase their preparedness for crisis and mitigation measures. New realities require a new level of preparedness in Europe, said Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. Our citizens, our member states, and our businesses need the right tools to act both to prevent crisis and to react swiftly when a disaster hits. So let me note something here. We haven't been talking too much about Ursula von der Leyen, the EU Commission president. She's come out so many times recently just warning about how the EU needs to be prepared for war with Russia, warning on all the areas that the EU is lacking on, what they need to upgrade, what they need to, what type of defense they need to build up, all these different things. She's been warning so much about this recently, and she's still continuing to do so as of today. The Brussels Initiative, which includes both concrete steps to be taken by the EU executive and non legislative suggestions for national capitals, borrows from long-standing crisis response policies in countries including Finland, Sweden, and Belgium. It is partly designed as a wake-up call for some capitals that lack crisis response capabilities. In addition to encouraging the public to adopt practical measures, such as maintaining essential supplies for a minimum of 72 hours in emergencies, the Commission proposes that an EU crisis hub be established to coordinate cross-border responses. It also calls for stockpiling of critical equipment and materials and measures to ensure continuity of services such as healthcare, water supplies, and telecommunications in the event of conflict or disaster. Note how they put conflict first before disaster. The initiative follows warnings by Sauli Niinisto, Finland's former president, in an EU Commission report released in October that Europe had taken its safety for granted since the end of the Cold War and was now vulnerable. We face an increasing number of external security challenges and a growing number of hybrid attacks, said Kaja Kallas, the Commission's Vice President for Foreign and Security Policy. It is clear that Europe must be stronger on all fronts and at every level of society. It is always better to prevent crisis than to deal with their consequences. I mean, I have to agree with that. I definitely highly recommend you always be prepared for anything. I mean, even me personally, I'm not really a prepper or anything, but I do store food that can be stored for long periods of time and has a long shelf life. I think that's always important to have that. If you can ever have extra water, whatever, you never know what could happen. Anything could happen. Crisis could hit at any moment. You could even have a tornado or some sort of natural event that could happen and tear up your home. Who knows, right? So it's always very important to be prepared for anything. But the main reason why I wanted to show you guys this story is that right now the EU is preparing for war with Russia. As we're seeing these ongoing talks with Ukraine and Russia right now in the United States, and they're trying to end this war. At the same time, Europe is not letting up at all, and they're preparing for war at some point in the next 3 to 5 years with Russia. They firmly believe that Russia is going to attack a NATO member in the future. You guys can let me know whether you believe that's going to be the case or not. Do you think Russia will attack the EU? And do you think the EU is just overreacting right now? Do you think there's no threat from Russia at all? Or do you think that it's very smart for the EU to actually start doing this and preparing their citizens actively every single day for a potential war with Russia if it comes? You guys can let me know what you think down below, but that's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell, that way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.